What's up, everybody? Axe Wizard here, back with a different video. Sorry I've been gone for a while. Stuff's been busy. But recently I saw a video on YouTube. I was browsing, this video popped up on my feed from Muta over at Some Ordinary Gamers. The title was called Delete Windows Today. That's just such a provocative title. So I checked it out, and basically he walks you through step by step how to install LinuxMint on your computer. Now, if you haven't messed with Linux before, there are tons of different distributions out there. I actually tried LinuxMint probably over a decade ago. I tried LinuxMint at like Linux 14, I think it was called Nadia or something like that. It was pretty cool back then, but it wasn't good enough to be my daily driver. Linux just wasn't there yet. I still had to do lots of manual configuration, and it was fun, but it wasn't good enough for my daily driver. So when I saw this Muta video where he's kind of detailing, you know, how to run all the games, including Final Fantasy 14, which is a game I love playing, it blew my mind. So I installed LinuxMint. I slapped a secondary drive in my computer and I installed it, and it was painless. I made the boot USB. I just plugged it in. I restarted my computer. It detected that and basically booted up like a demo version of Linux, like a little trial version where you can. This is even before you officially install it, so you can try it out. And it blew my mind. Let me pop open OBS here. I'm going to move myself over to the left. To the left, left. Move myself over to the left, and even before I had officially installed the operating system, just when it was running from the USB, it detected my printer, and I could print to it. That blew my mind. If you've ever messed with Linux before, drivers are often a pain in the ass. For some reason, it seems like they've got brother drivers on lock, because I was able to print to my printer. I didn't even have to install it. It just detected it was on my network, and bam, oh, you want to use it? Cool. Blew my mind. I didn't know how that was possible, so that's super cool. So when you first install Linux, or LinuxMint, it brings open the welcome screen, which I thought was really cool. And this gives you like a step-by-step. You can hit let's go. It takes you to the first steps. You can set your desktop colors. So you can do light mode, you can do dark mode, you can do mixed if you're a psychopath. You can choose your colors. I liked green, so I went with that. So it kind of has like this green mint, you know, undertone to it. I kind of like that. So you go through and you set your settings. You can create system snapshots, because one thing with Linux is that it's very easy to break things if you start messing with things. So it takes snapshots. It does. I just did like the recommended. So I just did the recommended, and it keeps like the last few snapshots, and in case I break something, I can go back to it. So you can see I've got a snapshot every day since I installed it, basically. So I've been running Linux for I've been running this distribution of Linux for about 4 days now. Part of my job as a developer is I use Linux all the time. I have a bunch of Ubuntu servers that I booted up that I run various things on. But I just do command line stuff with that. So I'm okay at Linux. I'm not like a guru by any means, but I've got familiarity with it, and I've messed with it throughout the years. I would come back and visit it and see what the progress has gone, and I would check it out for a bit, and then I was like, you know, it's not quite there, but it's getting there. I'll see you later. So then I would go back to Windows, because programs and things that I had to use were only on Windows, so I felt stuck. But I've been getting really tired of Windows lately, like really tired of it. I'm not happy with Windows 11. I don't like how they're cramming Copilot into everything you do, and you know that they're training that AI on all your data, and you have no choice. So, well, I do have a choice. I switched to Linux. So, I don't know. That might not bother you. It was starting to bother me. And I got tired of just fighting with Windows all the time. So I'd rather just fight with Linux. I'm at that point now. It's kind of like in my game devlogs where I started out in Game Maker Studio and then I got to like doing UI stuff and I was like, oh my god, I would rather rewrite my entire game from scratch in a new engine than do UI in Game Maker. So I switched to the Godot engine. I've been much happier. Well, that's kind of how I feel about switching to Linux Mint from Windows. Like, it's a bit of a hassle for me because some things don't work, but for the most part, everything I've tried seems to work out of the box now, which blows my mind. So this welcome screen here walks you through setting up your drivers, which super nice. So it looks for drivers. It gives you the option of open source or proprietary drivers if there are some. I think that this version of Linux Mint I'm running doesn't have the most recent like Linux kernel, so some of the drivers won't be available to me, but for the most part, everything seems to be working fine for me so far. So I've got the NVIDIA proprietary drivers, but I could also try running these open source drivers if I wanted to, but I don't know if that'll work at all. So I just stuck with the NVIDIA driver. I got my GeForce GTX 1660 Super still trucking along after all these years. And yeah, so cool. Driver installation. And for the most part, everything else was already, it just works. Keyboard, mice, camera, microphone. It just works. All that stuff worked. I plugged it in. I didn't have to install any drivers. It just worked, just like you would expect an operating system to do in 2024. It also detected my printer. Like I said earlier, I could print to it. I didn't have to install it. That blew my mind. And it detected my graphics drivers and installed the right thing for me. I had to manually specify that in Driver Manager, but I'm glad it gave me a choice. Super cool. Update manager and then system settings, and then it has like this software manager, which is like a little pseudo app store, like a built-in collection of apps and programs and stuff that work on Linux. So I was like, okay, well, let's get the necessities. So I got Discord. So I've got that installed. That's been working great. I've got Godot. I got my game engine. I've got that installed. That's working great. I already set up Git and I already pulled my code from my repository, and I've been working on my little game that I haven't even unveiled to you guys yet. I've been working away at that. So I'm able to do game development on Linux. That's awesome. I wasn't able to do that when I tried it back in like 2012. So that's super cool. I could have done it, but it required a lot of finagling back then. I didn't have to do anything. I haven't had to open my terminal and run like any sudo commands or anything. I haven't had to do any of that in the entire time that I've been running Linux Mint. For about 4 or 5 days now, I haven't had to do that once. Everything I've been able to get working, I just do in the UI. So that's fantastic. So I installed Godot. I was like, okay, cool. Mutahar's guide that he walked you through, he got Final Fantasy working through this app called Lutris, which lets you play other games that aren't just on Steam. I was like, okay, cool. So I'll get that going. And while I'm doing that, let's also get Steam going. So I downloaded Steam, and I've been playing around with it with a few games, but I think Steam has a big role to play in why Linux is now viable, is because they've been going hard on Linux for quite a few years now. So I remember years ago hearing about how, Steam, Valve is working on the Steam OS. It's going to be built on Linux, and it's going to revolutionize Linux, and it's going to be your main, Linux operating system. It's going to knock Windows and Apple out of the park. And then I didn't hear anything else about it after that. And then they were coming out with, the Steam box, or the Steam machines is what they were called, which were supposed to be like consoles, but they ended up just being like streaming things to allow you to stream from your computer to it flopped. Nobody even knew what the fuck it was supposed to be. Nothing happened. And then the Steam Deck got real big. And if you don't know what the Steam Deck is, I'm surprised, because everybody knows what it is, but Steam Deck is basically a handheld thing. It's like a beefed up Nintendo Switch that can for PC, and it runs like all the PC games, even ones that aren't like made for it. it still like has support, and it's still you can rig it up. How does it do that? It's using Linux. So they have this technology called Proton that allows you to run Windows games in Linux or on the Steam Deck. And guess what? Since Linux is free and open source, all the other Linux distributions sort of taking advantage of that through Steam. So whenever I download something through Steam, it just works. And oddly enough, it seems to work even better than Windows. Now, that doesn't make any sense to me why it should, because it's going through compatibility layers, and it's sort of like emulation in a way. There's a performance cost to that. But for some reason, for Linux, my games have been running smoother at higher frames per second than they were on Windows. I don't get it. I'm happy. So far, I've had literally zero issues playing any of the games that I've tried so far. And yeah, I've just been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14. It says I've played 23 hours and 21 minutes, but most of that was because I left it on overnight downloading, and that counted towards playtime. So whatever. But I've got, I've been playing Final Fantasy 14 for a few years now. It's my go-to MMO currently. I don't make much content about it because I just like playing it with my friends, and it's kind of my way to just chill and relax. So I got Final Fantasy 14 running on here. I run it through this app called Lutris, and I think it uses like Wine, which is allows you to basically sort of emulate Windows or run Windows applications on Linux. I didn't have to configure any of it. I just installed Lutris, searched for Final Fantasy 14. It installed it. It pulled up the installer, like the actual downloader, the client. I logged in. It downloaded it, and it's working. I didn't have to mess with it at all. That was super cool. So that's awesome. So games, check. So let's talk about other stuff. So what are my big things? Obviously Discord. I got to have a web browser, so I installed Brave. That way I've got the ad blocking and stuff. I still have access to YouTube and all that stuff, so I'm good to go there. So web browser, Discord, video games, check. What else do I got to do? Well, I am technically a content creator, even though I haven't been making videos. Can I get OBS working? Yes, I have OBS working. And it works just like it did on Windows for me. There's a few like small details, like the screen capture is different, but it worked. I didn't have to configure it at all. It just fired right up. And the microphone just detected right up, so I was able to get my filters added on my microphone. So I've got a noise gate to block out some of the other stuff. I've got noise suppression to knock out the background noise. I've got the gain, so if I talk super quietly, like almost like a whisper, right? It picks it up. And then if I talk super mega loud, the compressor is kicking in and stopping me from just blowing up your speakers and picking your audio. And if I just go super loud, if it blows out the compressor, the limiter hard caps it. So I got my audio set. That's cool. I could add some EQ if I want to maybe take care of some of the sibilance in my voice or whatnot, if that's a problem. This is my first video I'm recording on Linux, so I don't even know. But I've got all that. I got the camera setting. I don't have my green screen because I have my treadmill in the way right now. I've got it popped up right in front of my TV so I can get my steps in the morning. Because I'm getting a bit chonky, starting to lose some of that. So that's what I've been doing. But yeah, I've got this set up, and I can set up my scenes and stuff later, but OBS is basically set up and ready to go. So that's working. So after I get done recording videos, I have to edit them. On Windows, I was using DaVinci Resolve Studio like 18. I even paid for the full version, that way it uses my GPU. The reason why I haven't been posting videos is because having to go through and actually edit videos in DaVinci Resolve, I hate it. I freaking hate it. Even if I take great pains to make a video where I don't have to do much editing, I hate DaVinci Resolve. It's a powerful software. It can do everything. It's not intuitive at all, and I'm tired of it. I kind of wish I might pull out my old MacBook and just try to go back to maybe iMovie and just make some basic shit with that. But now that I got Linux, I was like, okay, well, what stuff works? DaVinci Resolve apparently does work for Linux, but I searched on the App Store here, and I searched on Google to see what they use for Linux, and I downloaded this Kden Live editor, like video editor. And this seems to have the basic functionality. I edited like a little mini video just kind of testing it out, and it's much more painless than DaVinci Resolve is. Granted, it's probably more limited, but I don't even use 0.1% of all the features in DaVinci Resolve. I don't need that much shit. So this works perfectly fine. So I'm excited about this. So this video you're going to be watching is going to be edited in this. By edited, I mean I'm going to cut out a few things and slap my intro and my outro on it and good to go, right? So that's good to go. So yeah, recording video and then video editing, check. What else do I typically do on my computer? Well, I do audio recording. So I've got my recording interface right here. I don't have my guitar with me currently because I took it to work because it was getting cold here. And I couldn't afford heating for a little while. So I was, well, it's cold in here. So I was wearing some layers. But I didn't feel right having my guitar freeze. And I couldn't just wrap a bunch of blankets around my guitar because it doesn't generate heat. So I took my baby to work so she could sit in my office. That way she's all nice and warm. And yeah. So guitar should be back next week. I'll bring it back, and then I can start playing around. So, but in order to record music, I have to have a DAW, a DAW. Now, on Windows, I was using PreSonus Studio One, which is a paid DAW. I think I paid like $99 for version 5 of it. And I was checking to see if that has Linux support. Apparently, I think one of the more recent versions, I think 6.5, apparently has experimental Linux support. But I don't think I have a license for version 6. So I would have to eventually look into paying that. Well, I can't afford that right now, so I'm not going to mess with that. So I was looking at other alternatives, and where's the store? Did I close it? I think I closed it. Where is it? Here it is. Software Manager. So there's some free alternatives on Linux. Some of them are really rough. The one I found I think I'm going to try out is called Ardor. And this, I think, will work for my needs. The screenshot's probably not the best representation of it, but this is a way older version. That's pretty rough. But yeah, so apparently Ardor is a free thing that I can use, so I'll try that out. I was also thinking about trying Reaper, which is a very common. It's not free. It gives you a free demo, and then you can buy like a lifetime license for $60. So I might try out the free 60-day demo, and maybe I'll throw $60 at it if it's worth my time. So it seems like making music should be a check. I haven't confirmed that yet, though. I'm not sure if my VSTs and stuff will work. I think they will. I know that Reaper has VST support, so I'm pretty sure Ardor does too. So the VSTs I used was for my guitar effects. I was using Bias Effects 2 by Positive Grid. I had paid, I forgot how much I paid for that, but I bought it. I bought that. And then I was also using, I think it was Easy Drummer 2. I don't think I upgraded to Easy Drummer 3. I think I've got Easy Drummer 2. And I've got like a few MIDI packs from TuneTrack. So for the drums. So I've got like Lamb of God drums and like Gene Hoglan and, you know, Dirk Van Buren and a few different like MIDI packs of just crazy metal drum beats that I use in my songs. And yeah, so I think for recording music, I should be able to do that here too. I don't see any reason why I wouldn't be able to. So that basically checks all the boxes for me. I can browse the internet. I can print to my printer, I can manage my devices, I can record, I can edit videos, I can play all the video games I want, I can make my own video games. I'm happy. And as of right now, I don't see any reason why I need to go back to Windows. The cool thing is that since I installed it on a secondary drive, it detected my other drive for me and automatically mounted it. So if I need to go back and get some files from from Windows or whatever, I can just go to this drive and just go get my stuff. So if I want to, I don't know, get some music or something, do some Axe Wizard riffage, right? Yeah. Bam. So I can access my files. So right there, I don't have to, you know, manually mount the drive, which can be a pain and confusing if you haven't done that before. Or I don't have to, you know, I don't have to restart my computer and boot back into Windows and put my files on a thumb drive and then take it out and then boot back into Linux and then put my thumb drive back in and hope it auto mounts, and I don't have to worry about any of that. It just does it for me. Super nice. So I really think that is really good stuff. So I'm happy with that, and I am happy with Linux. So I thought I would share this for anybody who might be tired of Windows, because this world we live in today, sometimes it makes you just feel powerless, because it feels like you don't have any control over anything. Every time there's some new privacy update or there's some new EULA that you have to agree to before, or else you can't do anything. You've got no frickin' choice. Now I got a choice, and that feels good. So thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks for listening to me ramble. And hopefully this helps some people. Or how many of you use Linux? Have you tried Linux before? This might be the time to try it. I don't recommend just jumping in straight away and just like, oh, I'm gonna ditch Windows. You know, don't take Muta advice and just delete Windows today. Take like a safer approach. I would recommend like taking out like an old computer if you've got one. Linux is tiny. Windows takes up about 45 to 50 gigs of space on my drive. LinuxMint took 3, and that's large for a Linux distribution, but it does that because it's got all this fancy stuff. It's got all the UI stuff working and all the system settings, and you know this actually kind of reminds me of Mac in a way, how the settings and stuff are laid out. So it's got all these system settings built in, and you can tweak things, and you know, you could even customize it. Again, this is free and open source. You don't necessarily have to be a coder or a nerd to be able to do this stuff. So, you know, for example, I use this program called FlameShot to take screenshots. In Windows, I use a program called LightShot. Now that let me just hit the print screen key, and I can click and drag where I want. I can take my screenshot, move it around. I can resize it, and I can get a screenshot of just what I'm trying to actually take a screenshot of. And I think this even lets me do mark on it. No, that's a highlighter. Let me do back on that. Oh, here, I can draw on it. I can put arrows. You know, there's actual little arrows that you can draw. So you can do all this stuff with this screenshot tool. I use this all the time. So FlameShot seems to be a good replacement for that. But when I press print screen, it didn't pop open like I wanted it to. So I was able to actually go in these system settings, and I was able to go to my keyboard, to shortcuts, and I was able to go to my custom shortcuts, and I was able to add a custom shortcut for FlameShot, and I was able to just have it run the actual FlameShot command. And I found this by doing a quick Google search, and I just threw that in there. I picked what key I wanted to do it, and lo and behold, it works. So that's super cool. So far, I haven't had to do the terminal thing once. I haven't had to go in here and do anything Linux related. I do have to do it for version control stuff, because I use my git commands in here, but that's just, I do that in Windows anyway. So yeah, I'm no stranger to bash terminals, so I don't feel intimidated by it, but I'm just relieved I haven't had to go in here and fight with anything yet. So anyway, those are my thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. I appreciate it, and I will hopefully see you in whatever video I make next very soon, now that I've got now that I'm not hating life every time I edit a video. Peace!